Welcome to the Octagon of Doom. Tonight's game is a part of My Home Court, our week-long celebration of the great college basketball arenas around the country. And tonight we're at Bramlage Coliseum, number 25, Oklahoma, taking on Kansas State. Looks so rugged. Starting lineups first for the Sooners, 13-3. They're a surprise team of the Big 12. Woodard, Cousins, Hield, Cameron Clark, who's just been tremendous, and Ryan Spangler on the other side for the Wildcats of Kansas State. Another team that I think has surprised on the upside. Their 10-game win streak is over. Spradling, Foster, Southwell, Gibson, and Owundu. Bruce Weber, longtime head coach in college hoops. This is his second year in Manhattan, Kansas. Shared the Big 12 title last year. And the Octagon of Doom will get revved up here tonight for an important game in this conference. Gibson and Spangler set for the tip, and it's controlled by the Sooners of Oklahoma.
Well, when you watch the Sooners play this year, they're really going to play up-tempo, a lot of dribble handoff actions, something that K-State will look to switch as they did right there with Spradling.
On the right wing, Buddy Hield misses a three. Cameron Clark with the offensive rebound. Putback attempt was bothered by Southwell, and Shane Southwell comes away with a loose ball. In the open court with the foul, he'll go to the free throw line. Shane Southwell, the senior from New York. Honorable mention Big 12 last year. Expecting big things from him this season, and at least lately it hasn't been easy for Southwell on the offensive end.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say the numbers are great as far as points per game. I know he's averaging double figures, one of three guys on the team, but he does so many other things for this Kansas State team. He leads the team in blocks, assists, steals, and minutes. And you and I were talking about at shoot-around today. How unique is it for a guy to lead in blocks and assists? I don't think that's something you normally see from one player.
I can't think of another example of it. A player leading his team in those two categories. Southwell hits the free throws, and the Wildcats, who can be offensively challenged, very good defensive team, have the first points of the game. Jordan Woodard nearly turned it over. Cameron Clark, who's the top scorer in the Big 12 Conference.
I think that Woodard-Spradling matchup will be interesting. Spradling, not a great on-ball defender, more of an excellent help side guy, and Woodard, one of the best penetrators in the country.
Marcus Foster steals the ball away and then finishes in the open court. Well, Foster is having a great first year in Manhattan. He is a big-time freshman for the Wildcats.
Yeah, and I'll be interested to see how he responds after having arguably his toughest game in a Kansas State uniform, going 3 for 12 and only scoring 7 points on the road against KU. But here, the anticipation, he tracks down that basketball, able to beat Woodard to the ball, and then the nice step through and the soft land.
Yeah, Jordan Woodard, the point guard, number 10 for Oklahoma, another freshman who's had a big-time year for the Sooners. And he's off to a tough start in this game. Sloppy ball handling. So Kansas State. Foster, who is a good outside shooter, off the mark with that three.
And something to watch with Foster, he has the tape on his right index finger. He dislocated that finger last week in practice, but told me today, struggled with it at Kansas, but it's feeling great going into tonight's game.
The ball got knocked out of bounds off of Kansas State. That's what Miles is talking about, the finger.
And when you're a shooter or a scorer, the right index finger and the middle finger is the last two fingers that the basketball leaves off of, so it's very important. He said it really affected his follow-through during the Kansas game.
Well, Foster will take a quick seat. He plays a lot of minutes as a freshman for Bruce Weber. Sooners offense been a little ragged. This is a team top 5 in the country in scoring. Cameron Clark had it knocked away by Southwell. Loose ball on the ground, and Kansas State comes away with it. More good Wildcats defense. Shane Southwell had it stripped on this end. Jordan Woodard, freshman from just a few miles from Norman, Oklahoma. Hield tries another three and hits this one.
Hield really has a nice stroke. Made 6 threes in their win versus Iowa State, 22 points.
One of the best games of his career in a major win for Oklahoma this weekend after a loss to Kansas. Such a tough early season schedule for the Sooners in conference play. But an upset win against a top 10 team. Double team comes and Gibson passes right out of it. Southwell along the baseline. Jumper's good.
And that's really a bonus if Southwell is hitting shots. He's only 40% from the field going into tonight's game. Has struggled most of the year, just been kind of inconsistent. But he's a guy as a senior that they need to count on to get double-digit points on a nightly basis.
Spangler set the screen. Woodard didn't really use it. There's Clark, who had his shot partially blocked. Man, Southwell's everywhere on the defensive end. Devon Thomas, who came in off the bench. Spradling open. Too strong on the three. Thomas got way up there, fighting for the ball. The arrow will favor the Wildcats.
And here we see Shane Southwell guarding Cameron Clark. Does a good job of he has long arms, getting his hand on that basketball as Clark tried to go up into his shooting motion. And then again, just the contest, alters the shot, gets maybe a piece of that basketball, leading to the offensive opportunity for the Wildcats.
So Clark will take a seat, the top scorer in the Big 12 Conference. Having a problem with Southwell. Cameron Clark, such a tough matchup for a lot of teams, but Southwell so far playing it very tough.
Well, it's really almost two small forwards that are playing the power forward spot, guarding each other. And that's why I felt Oklahoma had a good matchup against Iowa State last weekend, because Oklahoma plays small at nearly every position, kind of mirroring what Iowa State does.
Southwell didn't handle that bounce pass from Thomas Gibson. Here's the head coach of Oklahoma, a guy who's very familiar with Manhattan, Kansas, Lon Kruger, third year with the Sooners, head coach here, great player, one of the all-time greats in the history of this program, so it's always a homecoming for him. There's Spangler, who lived on the offensive glass in their win against Iowa State. He draws a foul. His number, Lon Kruger, is number 12, hanging in the rafters. Two-time Big 8 Conference Player of the Year.
And if you wonder why it says 71 to 74, he was only a 3-year varsity player, because when Lon Kruger was in college, freshmen were not allowed to play on the varsity team back then, but he was also an excellent baseball player here at Kansas State. Played in the St. Louis Cardinals minor league system.
And just a tremendous athlete, Lon Kruger. Some great old footage of Coach Kruger in his playing days. Two-time Conference Player of the Year. Got a look in the NBA. And as Miles said, just a great all-around athlete.
Look at the speed he displayed right there. Pushing that ball up the court, turning the corner, getting to the rim.
Great athlete. And a heck of a coach who's had success just about everywhere he's ever been, including here. 1-point lead for Kansas State. Foster, bounce pass, and Gibson couldn't handle it. Maybe an advantage numbers-wise for Oklahoma. Heald avoided the offensive foul and then used the glass.
Well, sometimes when you pass that ball to a big man like Gibson in traffic there, it's hard for him to come up with that basketball, and Oklahoma is able to capitalize as Heald gets the soft touch on the other end.
That's what the Sooners want to do. They love to get out in the open court and run. First lead for Oklahoma.
And when you watch Oklahoma play right here on the defensive end, they do a lot of switching on this end of the floor.
Foster over to Thomas, shoots a three, way off the mark. And again, Oklahoma wants to get it up into the front court quickly. Neo's a good outside shooter, hits a long two.
Well, Oklahoma's a team that scores a lot of points, as we saw in the one-on-one, 87 points per game. The last time an Oklahoma team averaged 80 points a game, 1994-95 season. So Lon Kruger really just kind of changed the style of play, really wants to get up and down, utilize their skill and their speed.
Contested jumper, Shane Southwell playing very well in the first minutes of this game. He's got 6 of Kansas State's 8. Heald hits another three.
Heald is the guy you got to find, nearly 17 points per game, but he's been hot in Big 12 play from behind the arc at 48%. I love when he gets his feet set. He has beautiful rotation and great arc on his shot.
Now the sophomore who grew up in the Bahamas, that's an offensive foul against Kansas State that will send us to our first time out here in Manhattan. The Sooners started slow, but Oklahoma leads K-State by 4.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by the new 2014 Lexus GX. Dare to be spontaneous. All states are.
The low ceiling in Bramlage really helps. It keeps that noise that the students, keeps it down and bounces it off there, and they love their K-State basketball. They're wearing purple. They have great pride and passion, and it's just fun to be part of.
That's the Kansas State head coach, Bruce Weber. His second year, he's already a part of the tradition of this program, which goes back a long, long way. School is not in session, so it's an impressive turnout by the students, considering they don't start for another week back here from their winter break. The Oklahoma Sooners ranked for the first time since 2009 on the road. They've already won a road game in Big 12 conference play. Texas, an impressive win, and a great home win against Iowa State. 12-8 lead and the ball. Buddy Hield, who's just gotten red hot from the outside. On Hornbeek puts the ball on the floor, and Foster committed the foul.
And see, the hard thing that's to guard with Oklahoma is that they spread you out, and they have 4 shooters out there at any one time. Even Tyler Neal, who's playing the 4 spot right now, is much better from the 3-point arc than he was last season. So the dribble drive is really effective, and their spacing is excellent.
Neal got swarmed there, but that's a foul. K-State called for a reach-in foul. They're going to give Tyler Neal a couple of shots.
And as I spoke about, Tyler Neal having a much better season than he did last year. 53% from the field. Last year he was only 21%. He just seems more comfortable out there on the floor this season and really contributing at a high level.
Yeah, and you figure the guy with the experience. Neal went on the road to Austin against Texas, had a really big game. Oklahoma got in some foul trouble, and he made some big shots to help the Sooners get a win as Hield goes to the bench. Neal at the free throw line makes them both. Oklahoma set up some full court pressure here. It's an 11-2 Sooners run in the last 2+ minutes.
Well, the problem is K-State has turned the basketball over. 4 turnovers already here in the first 6 minutes of the game have led to 7 points for the Sooners.
Williams up to Spradling.
With all this switching going on, Kansas State, someone has to flash for the basketball, but I like what Marcus Foster did right there. Hornbeek was caught on the high side of the switch. Foster read it, and he flared to the corner where no Sooner defender could get to him.
Booker for 3, an answer for the Sooners. Knocked into his own man, hit the ground, but Frank Booker, the freshman from Augusta, Georgia, hits his first shot of the game.
And there's where the penetration sucks in the defense, and you can't leave a ball side shooter, and Booker's wide open from the 3.
And Foster looking very confident with that one.
Dave, you and I were here about an hour, 45 minutes before the game, and who was the first guy on the court tonight was Marcus Foster, the freshman. He's already learned great work ethic to bring it every night. And there just gets his feet squared. Look at that arc. Excellent lift on his shot and a quick release. This guy is going to be a force in this league for the next few years. Probably by the time he's a junior, senior, you're talking about first-team all-conference guy.
And impressive considering what you pointed out already. That is coming off probably his worst overall game. And K-State did not play well on the road at Allen Fieldhouse. High arcing shot from Woodard, too strong. Here comes Foster, a very good rebounder for his size. And Foster trying to hit another one, he does.
And Dave, I'm not even going to say that was a heat check. That was just a good shot. He changed his pace, used a little brush screen at the top, freed himself, had enough room to knock down his 3rd straight 3.
Booker, that was a tough long 2. Awundu with the rebound.
And Foster's wide open. Booker fell down.
They couldn't get it to him. Spradling open. He hits a 3. Kansas State has come to life from the outside. Woodard all the way, missed the layup. Very tough start for the freshman Jordan Woodard. See if Foster can get off another one. Awundu, they're just daring him to shoot, but he's not going to do it.
That's smart by Awundu. Know your strengths.
Until now.
Well, excuse me. I should know better.
They're going to check that one at the timeout to make sure it was actually a 3. What a quick run for a Kansas State team that sometimes has tough time scoring points. That was a wild shot underneath the basket. The shot rejected and now stripped away. So DJ Bennett couldn't score. Foster traveled. End-to-end action at Bramlage Coliseum. And it's getting loud in Manhattan, Kansas.
It's raining threes here in the Octagon of Doom. Kansas State not known for knocking down threes, but Marcus Foster with the smooth pull-up, knocking down one. Will Spradling on the other side of the floor. And then Wesley Owundu says, I can answer that.
Previous basket, a two-point basket for Wesley Owundu, has been credited as a three-point basket.
Super Tuesday from Manhattan, Kansas, 23-17. Kansas State with a barrage of three-pointers has gone ahead of the former Wildcat Lon Kruger and his Oklahoma Sooners. At the Octagon of Doom, where the student section is filled in nicely. Still winter break. The officials, by the way, during this timeout are taking a look at. I thought they were looking at the foot on the line, whether Owundu's shot was a 2 or a 3. They may have done that, and now are moving on to a clock issue. So we got a little delay here.
These young fellas, 18 to 22, running up and down that floor is no easy task.
Thumbs up, good to go. So back to action. Oklahoma has the ball. They've watched Kansas State's offense come to life.
Well, if you're Oklahoma, you're almost playing to the percentages. Kansas State, such a poor three-point shooting team. Only 29% on the season, but have already hit 5.
How about Spangler, the big guy, going right to the basket?
Spangler's much improved player on the offensive end, 11 points per game. But rebounding and defense is really where he helps out this Sooners team.
And Spangler gets called for the foul. He came out for some help defense. Foul trouble has been a problem for him away from the basket.
I thought that play happened literally about 10 feet from us. I thought that was a pretty good hedge there by Spangler. The contact was initiated by Johnson. I thought Spangler did an excellent job of moving his feet.
Well, Spangler started his career at Gonzaga, grew up just outside Norman, was not recruited by Oklahoma, so went to Gonzaga, played some as a freshman, transferred, sat out last year, and he's become a huge part of this Sooners team this season.
And the biggest thing, he really wanted to just come home. His family's very important to him. They traveled to nearly every one of his games, and it just ended up being too far. The Zags really could use him this year. He would have been in the mix and playing a lot.
Yeah, Gonzaga thought he was a big part of their future, and it was nothing personal against Mark Few and Gonzaga. In fact, I talked to Ryan's dad before the game, and they had nothing but good things to say. They just wanted to be closer to home.
But once he got released, Steve Henson and Lon Kruger, they were right on top of him, offering him a scholarship right away.
Williams, nice move in the lane. His first basket, 6-point lead for the Wildcats.
We were here about a month ago. Nino Williams wasn't seeing much time, but he's really accepted his role of being a defender, contributing on the offensive end when he can, and so his minutes have really increased.
Cameron Clark gives it up. Bruce Weber's got to be careful. He's out on the court. There's a whistle and a foul against his Wildcats, not against the head coach. The leg kick went out there, and I thought he was going to get in the middle of the action.
He's encouraging his young team to get in the right spots on the defensive end and really talk, because with this dribble handoff action, you have to really come together and tag each other on the defensive end. Otherwise, the Sooners will be able to get downhill and get all the way to the basket.
He was really animated at their shoot-around today. Woodard passes up the 3. Looking for somewhere to go with the ball. Hield steps into a contested 3. Clark fights for the rebound, but saved by Nino Williams. K-State ball. Johnson, the double team came. No problem. Underneath the basket, Johnson, too strong. Williams, tip, no good. Fights for the ball, though, and grabs it away. That's sort of what you're talking about from Nino Williams. A hustler and a scrapper. Out of bounds off of Oklahoma. Bruce Weber was very animated today at the Wildcats practice. I think maybe Miles a little concerned about the bounce back from a difficult loss.
Well, he was really on his 2 freshmen, Nigel Johnson and Javon Thomas, just about their focus and their preparation and being ready to play after coming off what he claimed himself was an embarrassing loss for this team by 26 at KU. Felt those guys weren't really into the shoot-around or as focused as they should be.
Foster off the mark that time. Another second chance generated by Nino Williams.
He's being that X factor that Coach Weber told us about today.
He tussled with Joel Embiid of the Jayhawks on Saturday.
Bruce Weber yelling out matchup zone.
Everybody at home might be able to hear that through our microphones. Bruce got a loud voice. That's an air ball. Oklahoma finally gets a defensive board. Isaiah Cousins looking for that quick shot, but Foster was there with the defense. Wide open, heel. Too strong. Oklahoma likes that look. Foster finds Owundu, his teammate. Three.
Two things on that play I love. Marcus Foster's versatility, bringing that ball up the court and creating for his teammate. And then Wesley Owundu having the confidence to knock down the three. A young man that only made 1 3 going into tonight's action.
Much needed basket for Oklahoma from Cousins. His first 2 points. That was a telegraph pass and stolen away by Clark. 2 on none. Buddy Hield gets the layup. Timeout, Bruce Weber. He did not like that play. So a timeout here in Manhattan, Kansas. The Wildcats playing well on the offensive end here in the first half, but Marcus Foster creating for his teammate Owundu. Another Kansas State 3, and the Wildcats are on top by 5. Big East with 2 really good teams. Pitt, I think, has been a big surprise.
They have Lamar Patterson playing really well, but they took a huge hit when Durant Johnson tore his ACL and is now out for the rest of the year.
Big part of their offense gone. Foster to Williams, who's fouled. You know, Williams doing some nice things in this first half. He'll be at the free throw line when we come back. He and the Wildcats up 28-23.
Garrett Lawson and the coach here with a studio update. Number 3, Wisconsin, 12 straight wins over Indiana. How about Josh Gosser?
Another night, another Badger helping to lead the way and scoring 9 points for Gosser.
Up 5 that game on ESPN. How about number 7, Florida? 24 straight home wins. How about Scotty Wilbekin?
Oh, I love when Wilbekin and Hill play together in the backcourt. Free Scotty up, hit shots like that.
Up 16. Dave Miles, back to you.
All right, Coach, back here in Manhattan, Kansas, where they're already getting ready for next year. Yeah, the EA Sports Maui Invitational. Kansas State's going to be a part of the field, so they had a little announcement, a presentation in midcourt.
Well, what a nice field, starting with the Arizona Wildcats. Their roster could look drastically different if Nick Johnson, Aaron Gordon, and maybe a couple guys turn pro. BYU will be excellent again with Tyler Hawes and Collinsworth. You look at that Missouri team, they have an excellent backcourt in Jabari Brown and Jordan Clarkson.
Considering the winter they've had here in Kansas, I think the fans already were gasping about the possibility of heading to Hawaii. There's a turnover, the 7th already for K-State in this first half, and that in some ways, Miles, is keeping Oklahoma in this game.
It absolutely is. 7 turnovers, 13 points for the Sooners off those turnovers. The dead ball turnovers don't hurt as much because that way Oklahoma doesn't get out in transition. It's those live ball turnovers that have been hurting the Wildcats.
You see that discrepancy in the points off turnover. The half-court offense has not been real successful for Oklahoma so far. K-State, one of the better half-court defensive teams in the Big 12 in the country.
Well, you see what they're doing. They do a lot of switching because they're versatile on the defensive end. They have good athletes there. And a nice job by the freshman, Javon Thomas. And Coach Weber talked to us in shoot-around today. He doesn't mind Thomas switching on to a bigger player. He feels that he's an excellent on-ball defender, whether it's in the post or out on the perimeter. And you see he takes the contact and draws the charge. And I believe that was Marcus Foster, excuse me, not Javon Thomas.
Yeah, but still, the point is, I think, still well made in that Kansas State does not mind when their littler guys go down on the block and play some post defense. Great pass from Foster to Williams.
Foster showing all the skills tonight, knocking down threes, assisting. He's an excellent player. I love seeing him. 6'2", 200 pounds. A lot of schools in the state of Texas missed out on Marcus Foster.
Wichita Falls right down the lane and a tough shot. Spangler tried to grab the rebound and he was fouled. So Hornbeek missed the shot. Now the officials just making sure the two teams don't get together.
Spangler and Foster were jawing at each other a little bit. Spangler did a walk across the top of the Wildcat player that was on the floor. and Foster let him know that he wasn't happy about that.
Sooners in the bonus. Spangler coming off probably the best game of his career, 16 and 15 against Iowa State. Front end of the 1-1. Earns the second. And this is what.
Well, we see the physical action. Nino Williams had a hold of Spangler's arm, and then it's kind of like when a guy sacks the quarterback in football and he walks over the top of him. The offensive linemen aren't too happy about that, but Marcus Foster had Nino Williams back on that one.
Spangler gets both at the line. He's got 6 in the first half, 5-point lead for the Wildcats. Oklahoma team that gets to the line a lot and makes their free throws. Free throw shooting is a huge part of the Sooners offense. There's a foul against Neal. Hand to the face of Foster. Foster checking to make sure everything's okay. Second foul against Neal, and he'll come out of the game. Clark back in.
I like the mental toughness of Marcus Foster. You know, you go 3 for 12 against Kansas. Andrew Wiggins did an excellent job on him. They threw some different defenses at him where they're even switching like Ellis and Embiid onto him off of pick and rolls. But tonight he's really bounced back and had a positive impact and really hasn't been hesitant at all.
Spradling dribbled around what could have been a double team, really avoided it. Southwell made some shots early in this game. Finds his teammate cutting to the basket, and Omari Lawrence couldn't quite finish, but draws the foul.
And there's the advantage of having a guy, a senior like Shane Southwell, who can handle the ball at 6'7". As I mentioned earlier, leads the team in assists, but initiates the offense and then finds a cutting Omari Lawrence on the back door for the layup opportunity.
Lawrence, who doesn't play big minutes for this team, did not get the roll on the free throw, misses the first. 12.5 minutes a game, 3 points a game. Another player, not quite in that Nino Williams mold, a little different body type, but a hustler, good defensive player. He misses both free throws. Booker, who just came in for Cousins with the rebound.
Let's see if Oklahoma can get Cameron Clark involved. Shane Southwell's done an excellent job here on him in the first half, but you need to get Clark a couple looks going here late in the first half. An excellent pass right there. Good post up by Spangler.
Yeah, I think you'd like to get Clark, but if Spangler gets that position, just get him the ball. Spangler with 8 points. The Wildcats offense has slowed down in these last few minutes. Spradling, the quick release, 3. Cameron Clark had an open look, passed up the shot, had the shot then blocked by Southwell, but a good carom to Booker, who hits the 3.
Booker, an excellent shooter, 34%, but he's been hot his last 5 games, 9 for 19 from 3.
Oklahoma getting a lot of production from their young players. And Foster's still bothered. It may go back to the play where he was hit in the face, but he's having a hard time out there. It's almost like he can't catch his breath. He's going to come out of the game. Well, hopefully everything's okay with Marcus Foster. Von Thomas checks in for Foster.
Javon Thomas, number 5, the freshman. He's really been a boost for Bruce Weber and this staff because this is a guy who's a true point guard. Spradling's been having to handle the point guard roles, but he's better off the basketball. But this gives Spradling a chance to be more of a scorer than a distributor.
Shot clock down to 10. Spradling trying to get a little closer to the basket, had it stripped away and stolen. Hornbeak, Booker in the open court. Clark stepped into that tough, too. That was a difficult shot. Spangler, though, good hustle to track down the loose ball. Booker open. Another one for Frank Booker.
Kansas State is a great help team, and Clark drew 2 or 3 defenders there, and I love that he had his head up, didn't get frustrated when the double team came, and found the hot hand in Booker.
3 for 3 for Booker from the outside. He's got 9. And Oklahoma's come back to tie the game. Spradling contested, way off the mark. And a good defensive rebound for Hornby. Buddy Hield will back it out. Spradling switches on him. Good little action there. Hornbeek was open, and now a whistle and a foul, and that's against Cameron Clark. Well, that sends us to a timeout here in Manhattan.
Well, both teams have been raining threes here in the first half, and Frank Booker continues with the hot hand as he ties it up here at Bramlage.
Golden State team since Mitch Richmond, Chris Mullen and company, Tim Hardaway.
Run TMC, baby.
We're winning games in a very fun way. A very entertaining Warriors team again this season.
Mitch Richmond played for Lon Kruger here. They went to the Elite Eight, losing to Danny and the Miracles in 1988.
Maybe the most famous head-to-head game between Kansas State and Kansas.
Steve Henson, the assistant coach for the Kansas State Wildcats, was the point guard on that team.
We got lots of ties between these two programs in this game tonight, and most of that because of Lon Kruger's presence. But there's Steve Henson, who truly just got inducted into the Kansas State Hall of Fame, was a great player for Lon Kruger here.
And I'll vouch for him. His jersey should be retired here. He is one of the best all-time Wildcats, still the career assist and free throw leader among other statistics.
He wears the purple well. He's not wearing the purple here tonight on the Oklahoma side, but Henson, a Wildcat great. Wild shot from Buddy Hield. Rebound, Kansas State.
Kansas State's half-court defense has been superb here in the first half. They've contested a lot of shots. I know they've given up a couple threes, but those have been off offensive rebounds or maybe a dribble kick out.
Help came and forced Foster to give it up. There's Southwell baseline. Spangler way up. No, that was Neal for the rebound. So Tyler Neal back in with the 2 fouls. Booker feeling it in the first half. Not that time. His first miss from the outside.
But I'll tell you one thing, this late in the half, Oklahoma has to feel pretty good about themselves on the road, a tie game, and your leading scorer at 18 points per game, Cameron Clark, has yet to register a point.
K-State, when they've passed the ball well, it's worked out, but there's been too much of that. You saw the 10 assists on 12 made field goals, but the turnovers are a problem.
Yeah, and that one's on Javon Thomas. Once you start to make your cut back door, you have to go because Nino Williams is reading that it was open, so you have to continue back door in that case.
And part of Thomas trying to get mixed in with this team, he has not practiced much. He sat out the fall semester.
Yeah, only 13 practices for Javon Thomas as he was declared ineligible. He came in last February, but has not been able to practice with the team, couldn't lift with the strength coach, had to do all workouts on his own to try to stay in shape.
They do think he has a chance to be a really good player. Woodard, the jumper. Spangler, offensive rebound, draws a foul. Back to the free throw line for the sophomore Ryan Spangler. Nino Williams' second personal foul. One thing about Spangler, because he transferred after his freshman year and sat out as the transfer, he's got 3 years of eligibility for Lon Kruger. Having a nice game here. And I think Spangler's got some blood on the jersey or maybe on his arm. So before he shoots the free throw, team gets a certain amount of time, not an infinite amount of time, but they get a couple minutes to try to patch that up. There you see
that's
the
a big
cut.
scratch right there.
Yeah, that's big time.
That one's going to leave a mark for a little while.
I think he'll be proud of it. He doesn't even know where it is. So they got to cover that up. So the team trainer, doctor gets a few minutes to work on it. If the problem can't be corrected, then the player has to come out of the game. We'll see if that's good enough. Apparently it is. Yeah, that's legit. Ryan Spangler, a battle wound.
He can legitimately say he got fouled or raked across the neck on that play.
Yeah, there's the evidence. Man.
That one's going to sting in the shower.
6 double-doubles and on his way to his 7th. He's been perfect at the line and stays that way, 5 for 5 at the free throw line. The guards, the big men, everybody who plays for this Sooners team, they get to the free throw line.
They do. They're one of the best free throw shooting teams, and they get a ton of attempts. They're really on attack mode just because of the way Coach Kruger has designed the offense, kind of the dribble drive or dribble handoffs. They're always talking, he was talking about downhill, get downhill, and they want to get to the rim. They almost want to shoot layups or threes.
It's been almost 4 minutes since Kansas State hit a basket from the field. And that has led to a run for the Sooners, 16-5 run. Oklahoma's taking the lead back. Spradling, I think he had an open shot and gave it up.
I think he was surprised that he was so open when he got in the paint. He was almost too focused, predetermined that he was going to pass the basketball.
Shot clock winding down. Foster dribbles right through the defense, but lost it out of bounds. That's going to count as another turnover. Their 10th of the first half. Major problem for K-State tonight.
Well, anytime they've gotten a shot, they're shooting a high percentage here in the first half. Anytime they've gotten a shot, but just poor decisions with the ball. And I know that one was just Foster being a little bit loose, but passes haven't been good.
Jordan Woodard has also been really quiet for Oklahoma. But he healed. What a spin move, and he used the backboard.
Hield just has a knack for scoring, and whether it's from the three or in the paint, that was a very difficult shot. Put the ball on the floor, spin off the defender, and then shoot it off 1 foot off the glass.
Spradling, shot fake, dribbles back up top.
And Oklahoma right now, they're just matching up. They just kind of staying in an area, not even really coming together. And it's confusing the Wildcats on the defensive end.
Meanwhile,
you see just a switch right there.
Southwell hits a three. Well, that was not a real pretty possession, and yet it ends with the three. The shot clock is off. Clock is moving, so Sooners, they want to hold for the last shot, but they have to pay attention to this time. And I think Lon Kruger's going to call a timeout with 11.9 seconds to go until halftime. Oklahoma will draw up a play to try to get a final look. Well, the Sooners, Cameron Clark, their leading scorer, top scorer in the Big 12. His offense has been non-existent. Jordan Woodard, who's been one of the better freshmen in the league, has not played well in this first half, and yet Oklahoma has the lead. How about that?
Yeah, they've really had other guys step up. Buddy Hield has had an excellent first half, and then also Frank Booker, the freshman from Augusta, Georgia, has come in the game and knocked down 3 threes. So Oklahoma still maintained. They have a lot of weapons on the offensive end, guys that can just put it in the basket. And that's something that Lon Kruger's been looking for in their recruiting.
If you sort of ask the general question, who are the best defensive teams in the country, you'd get some answers from Michigan State. Kansas, I think, would come up with the track record of those two coaches.
San Diego State.
Cameron Clark had 32 against Michigan State and against Kansas. This is a guy who's had huge scoring performances against really good defensive teams. He's got zilch in this one.
And you have to really, I think, credit Shane Southwell. Gets his hand on a ball early with a strip, blocks his shot also in the first few minutes.
Here's Woodard penetrating. Woodard, a shot fake, and draws a foul. There's 6 seconds on the clock. The one thing about that is, as he goes to the free throw line, you do give K-State a chance for a final shot themselves.
But you like that Woodard was attacking, and I love Coach Kruger has, you know, an NBA background, coaching for the Atlanta Hawks. ATOs, or after timeout plays, are big in the NBA, and it's becoming a lot more prevalent in college basketball as well. But you love the draw up on the board to get Woodard going downhill towards the basket and get him to the foul line.
Woodard, who gets to the line more than anybody in the Big 12 Conference and makes a lot of free throws. That's pretty remarkable for the freshman from Arcadia, Oklahoma.
This young man gets 51% of his points from the foul line this year. Amazing for a freshman.
That's his first point of this game. Now 6 seconds is a long time. Owundu across the midcourt line and got trapped. Spradling launches and off the mark, but they called a foul. Oklahoma called for a foul as time expires. Spradling was behind the three-point line. And I think I just read the lips of the official. Let's make sure here. And apparently the contact on the hand there from Woodard.
Well, great job by Spradling of flashing to that basketball. And Booker, I think, was clean. He completely missed him, but Woodard comes from behind, number 10. And it looks like he hit Spradling's hand forward on that, not allowing him to complete the shot.
And I think there was some contact there. So they're having the official review to make sure that the foul occurred before the end of the half.
And if it did, there will be time put back on the clock.
So 0.8 seconds is when they ruled that the foul occurred.
And Dave, with 0.8 on the clock now, it's a catch and shoot situation for Oklahoma. If these free throws are to go down, they can inbounds the ball. It doesn't have to be a tip-in.
Well, potentially a big break for K-State if Spradling capitalizes. See the assist turnover ratio. That's kind of what he's known for around here. 4-year player, part of their Elite Eight team several years ago.
And Dave, I don't think we talk about it enough that this is a team in Kansas State that won the Big 12 last year, that shared the conference title with the Kansas Jayhawks. Rodney Magruder, Angel Rodriguez, Jordan Enriquez, and Will Spradling and Shane Southwell and Thomas Gibson were big parts of that team.
Conference champion last year. The Wildcats have had to rebuild, but are clearly a team that can contend this season. Now, some confusion about the substitution. The official saying that's his fault. Bruce Weber not happy about it. It's been a ragged last few seconds of this half. Spradling trying to make it 3 for 3. And he does. Now Spradling with his 2 fouls comes out. Lawrence back in. As Miles said, a chance here for Oklahoma to get a shot off.
And I like that Bruce Weber puts DJ Johnson on the basketball.
Spangler, the former high school quarterback, and Oklahoma did not get that one off. So it wouldn't have counted anyway. That's how the first half ends. Those free throws have given Kansas State the lead. Now we're going to join Jonathan Coachman and Kara Lawson in the studio for the Land Rover halftime report.
Basketball game was the ability to knock down three-point shots. They made 8 of them in the first half. This is a team that is the worst three-point shooting team by percentage in the Big 12, but they go 8 for 13, and it was different guys. Marcus Foster, Will Spradling, Wesley Iwundu goes 2 for 2. But then on the other hand, Kansas State, what they are known for is defense. And they did an excellent job against Cameron Clark in the first half of locking him down, knowing where he was, taking him away from his sweet spots on the floor. There you see Spradling with the help. Southwell comes over and converges. Southwell at 6'7" uses his long arms to take the basketball one time and then affect his shot on the next possession. Excellent job on Cameron Clark. 0 points for the leading scorer in the Big 12.
Yeah, the guy leading the conference in scoring just had 32 a couple of games ago against a very good Kansas team. Cameron Clark with 0, and yet Oklahoma down by just 1. So I think that's a positive for the Sooners. Clark inbounds, and we're underway in the second half. Sooners have the ball first.
Well, if I'm Oklahoma, I'm trying to get Cameron Clark involved right away. And you see on the switch, they put Cameron Clark in the post against Spradling, and they draw the foul. They want to get their leading scorer going here early in the second half.
And that's the 3rd foul against Spradling. So just a few seconds into the second half, that's a little bit of foul trouble for the senior, one of K-State's leaders.
So I don't know if Clark doesn't get to double figures. I think it'll be hard for the Sooners to win this basketball game.
So he's got to come to life on this end of the floor in this second half. Woodard to Buddy Hield, who did play well in the first half. The rebound, there's Clark to clean it up, but he missed the putback attempt. Cameron Clark just all off the mark here in this one. Southwell open and rattles home the 3.
And see right now for Kansas State, guys that don't normally make three-point shots are hitting three-point shots. Southwell only 28%.
Hield attacks, lost it. It was touched by K-State. Southwell wants it to be his ball, but Oklahoma keeps it.
Shane Southwell sprinting to the corner, spacing that floor. The good push by Kansas State. and the excitement by Southwell as he's revving it up here in Bramlage Coliseum.
Now he's playing with a lot of life, a lot of energy in this one. Cousins off to Clark. Can he hit a shot? Still no. Another great look, and Heel just throws it out of bounds.
So Cameron Clark gets his 2 best looks, arguably, of the game. The first 2 times down the floor, misses a little bunny. And 17 feet and in is where he's almost automatic. You don't really see him miss that shot, especially when he's wide open.
So he is way off in this one. 9-1 Kansas State run, and that goes back to the first half. Remember those 3 free throws right at the end of the half for the Wildcats, part of the run. K-State led by as many as 9 in the first half. Oklahoma's biggest lead has been 6. Wundu trapped in the corner but got out of it. Southwell to Gibson, who was silent himself in that first half. Missed the shot. Woodard and a little jump stop. Tip up by Spangler. Got his own miss. Draws a foul. Good hustle by Ryan Spangler.
Spangler is hammering the Wildcats on the offensive glass. Had 4 offensive rebounds in the first half. 9 total for the Sooners, which led to 12 second chance points. He's one of the best rebounders and offensive rebounders in the league.
Gibson committed the personal. That's his 3rd. He has not scored. And I think he's going to be coming out of the game. Spangler at the line. Misses the first of 2.
And now you have Gibson and Spradling on the bench here early in the second half. Both of them saddled with 3 fouls.
Usually when Gibson does not play well and doesn't produce, Kansas State doesn't play well. Second free throw also missed. And right down the court, Foster had it blocked by Clark. Johnson cuts off Cousins, who gets to the elbow area anyway. Spangler again on the offensive glass. Heald comes away with it. He was rejected. Ball on the floor, and Thomas comes away. They never blew the whistle. 3 on 2. Southwell transition 3, no good. Now Oklahoma has some numbers. Woodard shoots a 3 and hits.
Transition defense, they just don't get matched up, and Woodard is spotted up waiting to receive the pass, and he knocks down the 3.
Well, big news for Kansas State. That finger that's taped up, and Marcus Foster looks to be in a lot of pain.
Dave, we talked about it in the first half. He dislocated that knuckle joint on the right index finger in practice last week. He said it really caused him problems in the Kansas game, but was feeling good. But I've dislocated my finger before, and that was 10 or 12 years ago, and I can still feel that the joint is loose. It's just going to take a little bit of a hit or a push against that joint. That's going to make it feel uncomfortable for Foster.
They're going to need offense from Thomas and others. Woodard, no basket, but a foul. The fans starting to get upset with some of the whistles, and maybe the fact that there was no foul on the other end and a whistle on this end. Jordan Woodard, the freshman, to the free throw line. DJ Johnson called for his first foul.
Jordan Woodard, really a special player out of the state of Oklahoma, Edmond Memorial High School. Won 2 state titles. And here you see what he does as a freshman to get to the foul line. 7.6 free throw attempts per game. Here's how he would rank in the NBA. I mean, these are the best players in the world, but Jordan Woodard, the ability to draw fouls, that's a skill.
Yep.
It's not an easy thing to do, and Jordan Woodard has the special ability to get to the paint, draw contact, and get to the line. And usually he's pretty good from the line, 78% on the year.
That list of NBA stars, I mean, that's one thing about those guys. They get to the line, and then they make their free throws, and Woodard, for the most part, has done that. 2-point game, K-State with the lead of the ball.
I feel right now, Oklahoma, this is the time where they need to try to get over the top and get the lead. Spradling and Gibson out, 2 of the more experienced players for the Wildcats with foul trouble. Oklahoma needs to make a run.
Bad miss. Clark rebound. Foster still on the bench with the finger problem. So where's the offense going to come for the Wildcats? Cousin, baseline, cut off. He had 2 teammates in the same area.
Bad spacing.
And that's a travel against Woodard. 7th turnover for the Sooners, and Foster You can just tell from the body language there he is not comfortable.
And now you wonder if it popped out or are they putting it back into place. And even if he's able to come back in the game, what's going to be the comfortability level of him catching the basketball, dribbling it, and shooting?
You just even start to worry whether that becomes a more chronic problem this season. That would be very bad news.
Well, you got to think so many times when you drive to the basket as a former player, you just get your hands slapped at on rebounds. When you're defending guys, you're trying to use your hands so much in this game.
Southwell followed his miss again, and his third effort drew a foul. Shane Southwell is playing very hard tonight.
Well, that's what you expect out of your senior. To lead this team, lead by example as much as you can.
Third foul against Cameron Clark. Clark without a point and 3 fouls. Not the kind of game he was thinking about. Southwell has been a big reason why. Makes the first of 2. Clark and Woodard, the 2 Sooners, I think, who have struggled the most in this one, both go to the bench. Nice performance by Southwell. Was still a long way to go.
Southwell, who's been struggling with the shot, has spent a lot of extra time in the gym with assistant coach Chester Frazier, just trying to find some rhythm for his stroke, because he was an excellent shooter last year, but right now doing a lot of the little things for the Wildcats.
Hornbeek to Spangler, found his open teammate Heald, no good on the 3. That was a wide open look off of Ryan Spangler. It'll be K-State ball when we come back to Bramlage. The Octagon of Doom getting loud. K-State leading by 4.
Take me, won't you take?
Well, Bramlage Coliseum, we've been talking about this great venue for college hoops. First game in this arena, November 26, 1988. Purdue came here to take on the Wildcats and open up the building. Lots of the folks who are involved in this game here tonight were there for that historic game, including the 2 head coaches, plus Steve Henson, one of Lon Kruger's top assistants at Oklahoma. Lon Kruger was the head coach of the Wildcats. Bruce Weber was on the bench with Gene Cady for Purdue in that game. Both had a lot of memories from the first ever game, first ever win for K-State in this building.
Well, and I think this arena has now become one of the harder places to win in all of college basketball. Such a home court advantage here in the Octagon of Doom. When the students start doing the Wabash over there, it really gets rocking.
They say the biggest student section of the Big 12 here in Manhattan. Southwell, the pull-up jumper is short. Neal runs the floor very nicely, but had his shot rejected by Johnson. Here comes Thomas, so quick up and down the court, got fouled. Ron Thomas to the free throw line.
And Thomas is right. You're right, Dave. He's a blur. Kind of changes the game when he comes in because he speeds it up. They can get out more on the break. He's excellent at the point of attack defensively, guarding the basketball, something that K-State didn't have.
Got to improve his outside shot. Got to become more comfortable in this Bruce Weber motion offense. But when he does those things, he's got a chance to be big time. He also has to get better at the free throw line. He has not been good shooting free throws.
Yeah, 4 for 14 coming into tonight's game. But he had committed to 2 different universities, St. John's and Dayton. Then he came out of Northwest Military Academy. He was a post-grad guy, so he was playing well last winter. And then K-State said, let's just get him on campus because we don't want to, have the chance of him, going to another school. He had to work out on his own. But he'll add another dimension once he can get some more practices and games under his belt.
Wildcats starting to pump this lead up a little bit. Booker, hands off. Hornbeek trying to use a screen from Spangler. Good half-court defense again. Spangler with a whistle and on the floor. So do not count the basket. The foul came before the shot, but there is a foul against K-State. Wundu commits his second personal. Heald thought about launching from 3 into the corner. Neal was wide open. He hits the 3.
The Sooners are just so patient on the offensive end at times, and you see the spacing on the floor. Neal just waiting for Heald to make the play to him.
Both teams shooting the ball very well from the outside. Sooners shooting 50% from three. Here's Thomas.
Now Thomas needs to go right. He doesn't need the pick.
Thomas into traffic. Johnson tried to grab the offensive rebound. Southwell attempting to save it in. Whistle against the Wildcats. Well, you can't blame the hustle there, but it turns into another K-State foul. Now Marcus Foster, the leading scorer, the freshman, who had just a tremendous start to this game. And you can see him there pull up in pain. He's got the finger injury, dislocated it about a week ago, trying to play through some pain, back on the bench. And now coming into the game, we'll see if he can hold up.
Yeah, and I think the biggest things are going to be catching, dribbling the basketball, see how he'll react to those things. Sometimes you receive a hard pass, the tendency is to kind of shy away from it if that finger's bothering you.
Those are fairly important things. Catching, dribbling. Spangler, the defense kind of parted, but Johnson with the recovery for the shot clock. The lead pass, Nino Williams scores from Owundu.
DJ Johnson igniting that break with the block shot. And then Nino Williams with the finish on the other end.
Almost Bill Russell style. The block was the outlet pass.
And that's ideally what you want to do. Try to keep those block shots inbounds.
Well, they lost Neal. Now a whistle. And that's a 10-second violation. Now remember, this year in college basketball, that would have been a layup. They're using the clock, not a hand count. They use the shot clock, and as soon as it hits 25, that's a 10-second violation. And the whistle was a little delayed, but it was the right call.
And an excellent job by the officials of recognizing it, because now with the fact that they don't have to count, but they do have to keep their eye on the clock as the pressure's on.
K-State doing a much better job taking care of the ball in this second half. In fact, I don't think they have a turnover yet in the second half. They don't. Thomas, what a quick move off the dribble, just couldn't finish. And Spangler rips the ball away. Man, Spangler's working so hard underneath the basket. Booker shot fake. Owundu went flying into the stands. There's Spangler once again. He's everywhere.
Spangler 7 offensive rebounds in this basketball game. He's just a workhorse.
Yeah, the thing for me is it's not that he's a good athlete, skilled player, but it's the work ethic. He is playing so hard.
Well, you think he covered 94 feet right there. He was in the paint making the play, and then he sprinted. He doesn't give up on the action.
Foster, first shot with the finger problem, missed it. You can see him gripping the fist just a little bit after the release.
And the way that it's going to affect his shot, it's going to be harder for him to follow through.
Healed, almost lost it on the dribble. And now the Sooners will reset. Hornby found the open shooter. Booker, no good. Healed, got a hand on it, but it's out of bounds off of Buddy Hield. Gibson's going to come back in for K-State. Johnson played very hard in his minutes on the court. He'll go out.
Johnson gave him some excellent minutes off the bench, blocking shots, being a force in the painted area.
I think he still has a chance to be a real good player for Bruce Weber. Just a sophomore. The physical tools are there. Kid from St. Louis. Well, there's Marcus Foster with that right index finger for the right-handed player. K-State needs him. One of the more underrated freshmen, I think, in the country.
Young man that played center. We're talking about Marcus Foster, his senior year of high school.
Owundu. Not much happening so far on this possession for the Wildcats. And the shot clock already starting to tick away. And that's a foul. And that just was an unnecessary foul by DJ Bennett coming out to help on Spradling. Stuck that knee out. That's going to be called every time. So the foul against Bennett. K-State will have the ball up 2 when we come back.
In the absence of Mitch McGarry, who's out for the season with the back surgery, you know, a freshman point guard, Derek Walton, having to replace the All-American Trey Burke, but you like what John Beeline's club is doing early on in league play.
Dan Schulman, some of our ESPN colleagues require that we point out Nick Stauskas, another Canadian making a big impact in college hoops.
A ton of those making a big impact.
No kidding. That's a shot blocked, but a foul. Foster being aggressive with that finger problem. DJ Bennett has committed a couple fouls in quick succession.
Well, I don't think we can talk enough about Marcus Foster and the impact that he's had on this Wildcat team. He's the leading scorer. You know, he's aggressive on the offensive end. He's a good defender, but he's a guy that when he came in, he felt that he just wanted to just kind of contribute and be part of the team. He thought he was talking to some of his fellow freshmen that he was only going to average maybe, you know, 5 to 7 points a game, get a couple rebounds, try to have a solid freshman year. But Shane Southwell took him aside and said, you know, young fella, we're going to need you more than that. And the coaches have confidence in you. And I think if you bring your best effort, you'll be a big contributor to this team. And so far he has.
Wow, not an easy play. Isaiah Cousins with the floater. He's got 4, back to a 2-point lead for the Wildcats.
Cousins playing more of his natural position this year. Had to play some point guard minutes last year, but just worried too much about passing. This year off the ball now with Hornbeak and Woodard running the point. He can just concentrate on scoring.
Cameron Clark's taking a big step forward. So is Cousins this season. Gibson still hasn't scored himself. Trying to follow his own miss. Sooners come away with the ball. The big guy underneath having a hard time. Neal catch and shoot way, way short, and he knew it. I don't know what happened there. He's a good shooter. Spradling open. He'll try to get a little closer. Rebound ripped away by Awundu. A whistle before the shot. A foul on the floor.
See, what I don't like right there with what K-State happened, Will Spradling's wide open. And young players at home, the pass is just as important as anything. The pass bounced at Spradling's feet, so he had to regroup to gather himself, and that really got him off balance. Shooters like to catch that ball in that shooting pocket and right in rhythm. If they deliver that on target, better chance, higher percentage that Spradling's shot goes in.
A little better pass there, but he missed the shot anyway. But I think your point is well taken, because that was not as good of a look as the one before. Woodard. Cameron Clark still on the bench. A floater from Cousins, and Bennett, I don't know if he even knew what he was doing. Almost volleyball style, knocked it in the basket.
I think he just knew what hoop that they were going to, and he was able to knock that in. Now he's made a play on both ends, blocking Thomas Gibson's shot a couple possessions ago.
This is our basket. Let me try to get it in that direction. Here's Foster baseline. There's Gibson. Powers through the contact and really upsetted himself. It's been that kind of game for Thomas Gibson, but he draws the foul.
Gibson's been playing so well as of late, double figures in 10 of his last 12, including a double-double against Oklahoma State where they pulled off the upset. But I think the biggest thing for Gibson this year, he's in much better shape. He's lost weight. He's really thinned up. You know, when he had his little dry fit shirt on today at shoot around, you can see kind of the muscles coming through his chest and his shoulders. He's much more toned up, and that's allowing him to play longer minutes, longer stretches in a game and have a greater impact for the Wildcats.
You wouldn't know it from that attempt. His free throw shooting has gotten a lot better. He's shooting almost 75%. That was an ugly miss. Still has not scored. Finally, a point for Big Thomas Gibson. Two of the top scorers in this game. Clark with the goose egg, and now Gibson with 1. Clark is back in for Oklahoma.
K-State doing an excellent job of coming together on their switches.
There's Clark, too strong. Spangler tipped it to himself, kept it alive. Another great play. Woodard, no good on the 3. Gibson just clears out the space.
Give it to Gibson in the post.
Yeah, but Foster could not quite enter it to him. Good defensive play by the Sooners. And then Nino Williams in the open court committed the foul. Almost an NBA kind of play there, his 3rd. 6 team fouls, so not free throws yet, but still 9:15 to go in this half, and Oklahoma will be shooting on the next foul.
But that ends up being a really smart play by Nino Williams. It stops the break, a chance that maybe Oklahoma, that's where they're best in transition, now make them set up in the half court. Nino Williams sacrificing himself for the betterment of the team.
Goes to the bench with that 3rd personal. Woodard off to Buddy Hield, the spin move. Nice look to Spangler, who scores.
And you hit it right on the head, Dave. That was a nice look. Buddy Hield made that same shot in the first half when he spun and shot it off 1 foot, but there he drew the other defender and had his eyes up and drops it off to Spangler.
Another double-double for the Gonzaga transfer, Ryan Spangler and Southwell. Wundu will get Gibson a touchdown low. Double team help came, so he passes out of it. That's a whistle and a foul before the shot. Will they call a foul on the floor? Kansas State is already in the bonus.
Well, Isaiah Cousins just gets caught behind in the post behind Shane Southwell, and that's some of that versatility. We've seen Southwell on the perimeter handling the basketball, knocking down shots and assisting there. He feels he has the advantage and he posts up on the smaller Cousins.
And part of the officiating emphasis this year is to also call that kind of contact down close to the basket. A lot of times we emphasize the contact away from the basket. Free throw good. Southwell earns the second one. He's got 15 points. Big game already for Shane Southwell.
Early on in the season when we had Kansas State about a month ago against Ole Miss, Coach Weber felt that Spradling and Southwell were really putting too much pressure on themselves early in the season to try to produce because it's their senior years. They're supposed to be the guys. They're coming off a Big 12 title. They look much more relaxed tonight.
No Rodney Magruder, no Angel Rodriguez. Spangler almost traveled, gets it back from Cousins.
Look at the rotation by Will Spradling, always in the right position on the help side. And there Cameron Clark finally gets his first field goal of the game.
And maybe that'll get him going. Guys had some monster games this year. Several times over 30, went for 32 against Kansas.
And that's a game that you had, and you felt that he was arguably the best player on the floor.
Well, we've seen Andrew Wiggins play some really good defense, and he just was blowing right by Wiggins, scoring basically any way he wanted to. Speaking of blow by, Foster started to get by Clark. It was tapped out of bounds off of Oklahoma, so K-State will keep the ball.
And Lon Kruger and the Oklahoma Sooners will need a lot more of this here in the last 7:47. Cameron Clark finally getting off the snide, getting his first 2 points.
Kind of amazing. Yeah, kind of amazing. He's got 2, and yet Oklahoma leads 55-54. My home court on ESPN on Super Tuesday. Some of the images from the Octagon of Doom. It's not all doom and gloom. They have a lot of fun here. They love their college basketball, the student participation, the band, the mascot. It's a fun place to watch college hoops. And a good matchup. Hey, look who's there.
Who's that guy?
Yeah, Miles Simon. Having some fun with the students before the game, and why not? That was pretty fun to be over there, wasn't it?
Yeah, they were very accommodating. They were letting me know everything that's going on, and they have some great traditions here pre-game, especially the Wabash.
So they teaching you the words to the song and all that?
We didn't get quite that far yet. Maybe next time.
Okay. A Wundu challenge but scores right over top Spangler. Off the inbound play, K-State goes back up by 1. Coming down the home stretch here. 7.5 to go in a 1-point game. Cousins challenged, misses. Rebound was tapped to Southwell.
I think they could have got a better look than that. A contested 3 by Cousins. Probably should have put the ball on the floor and continued to drive.
Oklahoma's offense has been stifled by this good K-State defense. Foster, though, dribbles the ball out of bounds.
And I think he dribbled that off his foot, but you wonder if he had the confidence in that right index finger. He'll lose a little bit of control, a little bit of grip.
Playing through some pain. Re-injured that dislocated finger here tonight, but after spending some time on the bench, Foster back in. Hield to Spangler, cutting to the basket with the foul. Count the basket.
And Will Spradling just about a half step late on the rotation. He could have been there for the steal. You see the pick, the roll action. Spradling just misses it by about a half a step. If he could have been on the inside on the split line, which is an imaginary line drawn up the middle of the floor, he could have had a steal in that situation.
The 9th lead change we've already had. Look at the numbers for Spangler, not just the rebounds. 8 offensive rebounds. He's also taken a beating. That big gash on his neck just got popped in the nose, I think, on that last play. So Spangler, you could see they at halftime they did a little better job of taping it up.
Well, he's just a workhorse down low. He spent last offseason just trying to get better, refining his game. Him and DJ Bennett spent a lot of time going one-on-one, and he also spent time with Coach Steve Henson trying to become a more improved face-up shooter.
Fourth foul against Spradling. So Spradling, one of the leaders for K-State, is out. Southwell passed up the three. Foster will shoot the three. Spangler, again, he's so good at that, tapping a rebound to himself.
Well, a lot of times rebounding is just having the desire and a will to go get the basketball, along with excellent anticipation. Spangler, right place, right time, always positions himself.
Cousins, another difficult shot. This time Cousins hits. Oklahoma up by 4 with 6 minutes to go. Sooners looking for another conference road win.
And you see with Kansas State, with Thomas in the game, they get a little bit lost on the offensive end. They run more pick and rolls with Thomas rather than motion offense.
Gibson, offensive foul. And I think you could see that coming. He lowered the shoulder and tried to clear out some space. His 4th personal.
Well, that's great scouting report defense there by Spangler. Looks, he gives him space, and Spangler anticipates that he loves to go to his right shoulder, so he almost beat him to the spot. And I think Gibson was surprised that he was there, but Oklahoma up 4 on the road. But lose 2 in a row to Michigan State, and then Iowa comes in to Columbus and knocks off the Buckeyes. They'll need a bounce-back victory against a tough Minnesota team.
Iowa playing really well. Make an argument with Wisconsin, Michigan State. Best teams in the Big Ten. Ohio State certainly in that mix as well.
I think Iowa right there. If Fran McCaffrey doesn't get ejected from the game against Wisconsin, they might win that basketball game. It was a 5-point turnaround from when McCaffrey got ejected in that basketball game. And I think they ended up losing by 4.
Oklahoma has a 4-point lead. Now a whistle and a foul away from the ball. That's Williams trying to guard Spangler. Oklahoma in the bonus. Spangler will go back to the free throw line. 4th foul against Nino Williams.
And I don't know how much you need to do against Spangler in the post. He's not a great back to the basket player. They don't really throw it to him on the block too much. He gets his stuff off the offensive glass. That's where and running the floor, that's where you want to keep him, where you want to be more active against Spangler.
Now Ryan Spangler, who was so disappointed as a high school senior, was a great athlete, high school quarterback, basketball player, maybe the best player in the state of Oklahoma, was not recruited by the Sooners and their previous staff, so went to Gonzaga, was happy there, but when Lon Kruger took over and Spangler decided maybe wanted to come closer to home, Lon Kruger was happy to take him. Matching the biggest lead for Oklahoma after Spangler's couple of free throws, 62-56. Here's Marcus Foster with that injured finger. He gave up the shot. Owundu wide open 3.
And if you're the Oklahoma Sooners staff, if you scouted Kansas State, you know that Owundu's not really a 3-point shooter. 1 for 5 coming into tonight, but now he's made 3.
Field against Williams, but gave up the ball. Cameron Clark also gave it up. Cousins along the baseline. There's an open look. Hornbeak way too strong. K-State with a 3 could tie the game. Devon Thomas. Owundu was open again for a split second.
But he really wants to just have his feet set and be almost more open than that. He doesn't really want to force the 3.
Foster fell down but got the timeout to avoid the turnover, and he's hurting again. Now this time I don't know if it's the finger or not, but Marcus Foster now grabbing his low back. Man, the kid getting a little beat up.
Where you see Foster trying to turn the corner against Spangler, just slips a little bit. Luckily, his feet curl up and is not at full extension, or else he would have been out of bounds.
Yeah, good point. That would have been a K-State turnover the first half. He was on fire. Most of those 11 points came in about a 2-minute stretch. Foul trouble, but especially in the second half, finger trouble.
Yeah, he went out early here in the second half, got his finger banged up. They went and worked on it, but he's been back in, just hasn't been. He's driven to the basket a few times, but hasn't looked for his shot quite as much.
Wildcats have 2 turnovers left. Oklahoma still has 4. The Sooners just into the top 25 for the first time since 2009. So it's been a climb for Oklahoma under Lon Kruger, building the program back up. Cameron Clark, the leading scorer in the conference, still stuck on the 2 points for this game.
Well, that's something that Kansas State prides himself on. The scouting reports knowing guys' tendencies. When you get into league, they start taking things away, and Southwell has been the guy that has really been assigned to Clark and done an excellent job.
K-State's got to play with urgency after the timeout. Shot clock winding down to 5. Foster pulls up. Foster hits. One-point game. Hornbeak, too strong, rebound, a whistle and a foul. And it's against Kansas State. Now Foster is going to talk about that call. The foul sends us to a timeout. Marcus Foster with the hurt finger with a big bucket to cut the Oklahoma lead down to 1.
Do as well. Oklahoma sneaking in there also. But Oklahoma going through maybe their toughest stretch of their schedule right now. They won at Texas, played KU tough at home, win versus Iowa State, and then now on the verge of maybe pulling off an upset here at Kansas State, and then they still have to go at Baylor on Saturday.
If they came out of that stretch with 3 or perhaps 4 wins, that would be huge.
And then the Jayhawks, as is typical of Bill Self, has his team playing his best basketball as they get into conference play.
Well, the win in Ames is not to be discounted against Iowa State. What an impressive performance by Kansas last night. Here K-State, the Jayhawks rivals. Foster, that was a kick ball. Cousins didn't think the foot got it, so he was a little upset. He thought his hand intercepted the pass. 15 on the shot clock, and Spradling with the 4 fouls comes back in for the Wildcats. 3:19 to go, 2-point game. K-State here at home, down by 2.
If I'm K-State, I want to get something going to the basket. Try to attack, maybe get to the foul line, score with the clock stop, but they got to go quickly.
Shot clock down to 5. Southwell crossover, fumbled it. Southwell's got to get one off. He does. Gibson from the weak side puts it back in.
Spangler doesn't put a body on Gibson. It cost him 2 points.
And now it's starting to sound like the Octagon of Doom. It's loud. Hornbeak found, healed, no good. He still has not scored in the second half. That gets a little quieter for the Wildcats to operate on the offensive end. Double team against Spradling. K-State should have an advantage. Foster was open. 3! For Foster. And now the Sooners are down 3. Lon Kruger wants a timeout. Now the coach of the Sooners knows about this building, knows about this program, and I think he's getting to know Marcus Foster.
Well, there's great spacing there, Dave, but what we don't see is Will Spradling gets the hockey assist on that one. He got double teamed and he backed that basketball out. Marcus Foster spots up in the corner. Shane Southwell makes the unselfish play. And you see Spradling passing out of the double team. The one dribble draws the Sooner defender, and that leaves Marcus Foster wide open in the corner. But it was Will Spradling that really made that play for the Wildcats.
Crowd starting to become a factor in this game. Relatively quiet. Still winter break for the students at K-State. Still a ton of them are here tonight. But as the Wildcats have gone on this run in the final few minutes of the game, up 3, 66-63. It's loud. Sooners really struggling shooting the ball. Clark. Healed spin move. Gibson grabs a rebound.
They've made it tough for Heald in the second half there. They moved their feet, made him shoot a contested shot over a Wildcat defender.
Gibson posts up, gets great position with that left hand. Tip ball, but a whistle. Wave off the basket, over the back foul. No basket. Yeah, they don't like it.
And we'll see a one-do come from the weak side. Jalon Hornbeek is not in position. And I don't know if that's much right there, Dave. I think that's a one-do just beating Hornbeek to the spot. He's more athletic. He's bigger. I think that should have been a good basket for the Wildcats.
Double bonus, so the foul huge in a couple ways. 2 free throws. Rattles home the first. 2-point game. That's his first point of the evening. The sophomore from Arlington, Texas.
And they've gone with, Coach Kruger's gone with Hornbeek down the stretch over the freshman Jordan Woodard, who's really struggled all night long.
Hornbeek misses that second one. Ball tapped to Gibson. Two-point lead and the ball for K-State. Foster pull up. No. And follow. Gibson foul.
You know what's a sign of a mature player, Dave, and we have one in Thomas Gibson. This guy struggled all night, hasn't got a lot of touches. He's been in foul trouble, but his head has stayed in the game. Late in the game when his team has needed him, he's been active in the post, gets a big tip in, now an offensive rebound and going to the line to try to put 2 more points on the board.
Still 1-1. That was the 8th team foul against the Sooners. That one was short. Owundu gets another rebound. The putback no good. Southwell tries to dunk it home, and he missed. What an opportunity wasted by K-State. Still a 2-point game.
And if I'm Oklahoma, I got to go to Cameron Clark. I know he's been quiet, but he's my go-to guy, the leading scorer in this conference. Find a way to get him a touch.
Heald, under a minute to go. Clark, 3, no good. Cousins hustles after the ball. It's out of bounds. And they say K-State ball.
Remember, in the last 2 minutes, Dave, they can go to the monitor and check to see who the basketball went out of.
And that's what they're going to do. And again, it's important to note, if it's a contested play, if there are players from both teams going for the ball under 2 minutes, they can go to the monitor, and that's going to be tough to see. So it is K-State ball, 51 seconds, the 35-second shot clock. Sooners can play straight up defense here, but they're not gonna. They're gonna foul Shane Southwell.
And Hornbeek, that's just falling asleep. He doesn't know the time, the score, and how many fouls they had. And Coach Kruger can't believe that he fouled in that situation, but I think one of the problems was during that whole timeout, Lon Kruger was anticipating it being Sooner basketball and was only talking about the offensive end.
Now Southwell was not a great free throw shooter. This is still 1-1. The first one is no good. Rebound, and who has it? Jump ball, and the arrow favors the Wildcats. Wow.
2 times in a row, we've talked about Ryan Spangler being an excellent rebounder, but your job on the foul line is to step into that guy's body. He didn't do it on the last 2 free throws, and Owundu just goes straight up. He's a better athlete than Spangler, and he makes the play for the Wildcats.
Now there's a little less of a difference. Game clock, shot clock. Spradling uses one of the last couple timeouts for K-State. So timeout And while we have a moment, we're going to send it back to the studio with Jonathan Coachman. Coach?
All right, Dave, thank you very much. Right now, over on ESPN3, Serena Williams, the #1 seed. She's on the court at the Australian Open. It's very hot down there. We will get everybody there as soon as you are done in Manhattan, what's proven to be a great finish. Dave, Miles, back to you guys.
All right, thanks. 66-64. K-State called that timeout. They do have the ball, 48.8 seconds to go.
And you know why that foul also hurts that Hornbeak committed? Because you still had the gap of one foul where it was still going to be a 1-and-1 situation. Now, if it comes down to a fouling situation, it's always going to be 2 shots for K-State the rest of the way.
So 2-point lead for the Wildcats here at home, trying to protect their home court. 6 ties, 10 lead changes. K-State in the first half had a 9-point lead at one point. Oklahoma has led for a good portion of this second half. Spradling to Gibson, pinned along the sideline there. Not a great place with the ball, but he's fouled by Ryan Spangler.
And that's when I think he was told to foul. If Gibson got the basketball, that they were going to put him on the line.
So it is double bonus time, but Gibson, who has not looked comfortable at the free throw line in this game, will shoot 2. He's normally a 75% free throw shooter. And you could just tell that one was way off.
Well, Gibson, when he shoots, most of his misses, though, especially the last 2, it comes off to the right of the rim. He pushes it across his body.
He's 1 of 4. K-State just 13 of 21 at the line. So they've left some points out there. Second one, and he gets the friendly roll. That's a 1-possession game. I don't think Oklahoma necessarily has to come down and launch up a 3.
The guy I would like to see in the game here that's best at getting to the rim and drawing fouls where they can stop the clock is Jordan Woodard, but he's nowhere to be found. He's on the bench.
Hornbeak instead handles. Cousins looking to find someone. Now they get it to Clark. Ron Kruger wants a timeout. He'll get it.
They don't need a 3. There's still plenty of time with 30 seconds left in this game. Send K-State to the foul line where they're not a great foul shooting team, only 64% as a group.
So 3-point advantage. And with that difference between game clock and shot clock, now because that took so much time, there were 48 seconds on the clock. Now the shot clock will turn off after this possession from Oklahoma.
Well, let's go back to the end of the first half. Lon Kruger called a timeout, had Jordan Woodard in the game, drew up an ATO and after timeout play, and Woodard was able to get all the way to the rim and draw a foul. Let's see if Lon Kruger can get something similar going for Hornbeak or Heald to get all the way to the basket.
And I think it's a good point you make in that Jordan Woodard has been so good for the Sooners, but just has been totally off tonight. And he's not played big minutes, especially in the second half. There he is, a guy who's led the way in some impressive performances. The freshman's on the bench. Off the inbound, Cameron Clark goes right by Southwell, had it stripped away though. And now Williams is fouled. Clark can't believe it. He thought he was fouled. It's been that kind of game, though, for the Big 12's leading scorer.
And they had what they wanted, the drive. He gets his head and shoulders past Southwell. And I think Southwell got some contact there on the arm. That's what Clark was looking for. Got some ball towards the end of the play. But Clark felt he should have been going to the line.
There's 2 points for Clark. 4 fouls now on Cameron Clark. Nino Williams, 70% free throw shooter, at the line for the first time in this game. Big free throw make there for the Wildcats.
Expect some soft pressure for K-State to just slow them down and not let them get a full head of steam going down the floor.
Yeah, the Sooners have to hurry now. That one is good also. Big free throws for Williams. Now a defensive substitution. Bruce Weber also gets to set the defense.
And if you're Oklahoma, you don't need a 3. You can still take a 2 because it is a 2-possession game.
Just going to happen quickly. No field goals in the last 5 minutes and 50 seconds for the Sooners. Bruce Weber out on the court as a 6th defender. Hornbeak pull up. No good on the three. Out of bounds off of Hield in Oklahoma. They did shoot the quick three.
He got a good look. You'll live with that one because it was a clean look at the three, just not able to knock it down.
Another timeout, 17.1 seconds to go. K-State making some free throws down the stretch. Oklahoma's missed their last 9 3-point attempts. They're just 6 of 11 at the foul line in the second half. So I think the Sooners are going to regret some of those misses from the outside, from the line, if they can't come away with a win.
And a lot of it is Kansas State's defense. We mentioned it at the top of the broadcast. They are the best defensive team in the Big 12 as far as points per game goes. And this game was played right at their pace, holding Oklahoma to 23 points below their season average.
Officials during that timeout did take a look at that. Another example of the kind of play under 2 minutes to go. Contested ball out of bounds. They can use the monitor to make sure they got the call right, and they did. Off of Oklahoma, so K-State will have the ball, and the Sooners are going to need to foul quickly. You see Hornbeak saying face guard. The Sooners, even out of the timeout, were not lined up properly, so Lon Kruger was not real happy about that. Get the ball in. No, have to use a timeout. Well, there's the last timeout for K-State.
Well, in that case, I felt Foster was open, and Spradling probably could have gave him the basketball, but Spradling errs on the side of good judgment and says, I'd rather be safe than sorry, and let's use the timeout rather than me taking a chance of dropping this basketball out of bounds on a tough pass to Foster.
And those numbers even more impressive when you factor in Oklahoma, one of the top scoring teams in the country, 87 plus points a game for the Sooners, and they're stuck at 64. Once again, we'll check in with the studio and Jonathan Coachman.
All right, Dave, we've got a really big night of tennis right after we are done in Manhattan. Serena Williams right now on the court in action. You can see that on ESPN3. It will be here on ESPN2 as soon as you guys are finished.
Take a trip around the world. Long way from Manhattan, Kansas to Melbourne. 69-64, K-State with the lead and the ball. Lon Kruger will set up the defense again. Now this time, K-State no timeouts remaining, so there's a little extra pressure to get the ball in.
And because it wasn't a made basket, it's a dead ball out of bounds. There will be no running of the baseline for Shane Southwell.
And you see the official just tell Southwell, no, you got to stay put.
But he Hield in center field trying to anticipate a steal.
They get the ball into Williams, who's fouled by Hield. And Williams, who hit 2 clutch free throws just a moment ago, back to the line. Perhaps a chance to put the game away, although what we saw with Notre Dame, Ohio State earlier this year, I hesitate to say that. Williams quietly has played well. 8 points, 9 rebounds, some real hustle plays, and another big free throw.
His confidence is just growing and growing, and as he's getting more minutes, he's becoming more of a factor for this team defensively, and he's even scoring some points on the offensive end.
Makes them both. That's been a big difference in this one. Free throws down the stretch. And Nino Williams, I think he's pretty proud of himself. 15-2 run to try to close this game. Hield to the basket, and he missed the layup. Spangler follows with the dunk. Just 7.2 seconds to go, though, so it shouldn't matter. Assuming K-State can get the ball in, they do. Spradling fouled. 5.5 seconds to go. And a 5-point lead for the Wildcats. I think Ryan Spangler, he was the standout tonight for the Sooners.
Yeah, he was, especially on the offensive glass. He was dominant there, really keeping basketballs alive, finishing in the paint. But also he had a couple mistakes down the stretch on the missed free throw blockouts. And that's something that will really, really irk Coach Kruger when they watch that on the film.
Well, maybe still a chance for the Sooners. Spangler, 21 points, 14 rebounds. He had 9 offensive rebounds. 6-point lead. Williams, you see him say no fouls. Spangler will shoot a 3. And that'll do it from Manhattan. The Wildcats survive. The Octagon of Doom maybe helped them down the stretch. It got loud, and the fans could celebrate a nice win for the Wildcats.
Well, a nice bounce-back win after losing by 26 at KU. Marcus Foster, one of the best freshmen in all of America.
So K-State beats Oklahoma 72-66. Coming up next, Australian Open presented by Franklin Templeton Investments. For Miles Simon, Dave Fleming saying so long from Manhattan.